Hello, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, guys? Node Investor here. Crazy day in the market last couple days. Ton of selling. Ethereum triggered a massive sell off across all the coins mostly. We're going to look at the charts. I'm going to focus on Ethereum a lot, talk about where I think things could be going, long-term projections, and maybe some short-term highlights, potential areas of strength. So let's take a look at the markets. Bitcoin, $2,446. Ethereum, 251, guys. Remember, we were at 353 something just a couple days ago. Dash, 162. Litecoin, down back to $38. Monero, $43. Ripple, 24 cents. Ethereum Classic, $17. Pivx, $1.70. Zcash down to $2.99, Factum 25, NEM 15 cents, and Lumens just shy of 3 cents. So as you can see, guys, red across the board. It's been a rough couple of days, and today was big selling in the markets. Let's take a look at the charts here real quick. What I want to show you guys is a little perspective on the coin market cap. So look at this year, right? Just this year we started at, let's say, 17 billion roughly, and we had this gradual climb, huge run up to about 90 billion is when we hit some little bit of resistance there. 88 billion really was the number, 89, and it sold all the way back down to just 60 billion. So you mean we lost 30 billion, roughly 33% on that first pullback. And then that was Bitcoin led. Bitcoin primarily drove that. Ethereum held up really strong during that time. We pointed it out and started looking at that. It broke out, led the rest of the altcoins higher. Then the market cap reached 100 billion. And since then, we've been back and forth, back and forth. The highs on the market cap value seem to be around 114, 115 billion consistently, and then it sells off a little bit. And the month of June has mostly just been panic selling, flop and chop, up, down, up, down. It's not easy anymore, guys. We had that nice run up. You got to be very selective on the altcoins that you pick. You can't just buy any ICO that comes out. You can't just buy any altcoin that's up 10% one day because you think it's going to continue. Be very selective. Understand the fundamentals. Understand the project. Why are you buying it? Do you believe in it long term, or do you think it's just going to be the next pump and you're going to double your money in 2 weeks, right? So keep that in mind. You just got to be a little more conservative, a little more selective right now. Look at the altcoin charts. So this is excluding Bitcoin. And granted, this chart primarily has been Ethereum. So this chart mirrors Ethereum very closely. There's a lot of other leaders in here, but Ethereum by far is the heavyweight in this chart. And this chart is breaking that first low we saw on June 15th. Just a couple weeks ago, and now we're well below it, and that was Ethereum driven today, but all the other altcoins are selling off as well, guys. And so Bitcoin dominance is starting to edge back up a little bit. So we notice here this chart, they were really close. We thought maybe they were going to flip and Ethereum was going to take the lead on the number one market cap. Clearly that didn't happen, and Ethereum is selling off a little bit. So what led to some of this? Some of the cracks started to appear mid-June, right? We had that first sell-off. Ethereum did a little bit of a climactic top, right? We broke the 300, and then it seemed like in 1 or 2 days we went straight to 400, and then it just sold off. And within a couple of days, we had a pretty decent sell-off. Then back up, and then we had the ICO freeze last week, and then the Coinbase flash crash, and just more fear has been in the market lately. A little bit of a toppy action that's kind of been my gut feel. It's just very toppy right here. I've been cautious, as I mentioned in my last video. I took some of the Ethereum off the table, and I wasn't expecting it to fall back this much, but certainly we're seeing a pretty big sell-off. Yesterday, I noticed Ethereum was down pretty big. Most of the market was holding up, but then it caught up. Turns out there was some rumors about Vitalik and some other things, and just a lot of news-driven market right now. So let's look at the charts. So here's Ethereum. Most of you are probably well aware, but if you have not been watching these markets, today was quite the shakeout. So here was the June 15th sell-off I was talking about. You can see we had that big peak at 400 and then just quickly sold off, had a little panic selling and then bounced back up. And since then we were just bouncing around, but my concern was we were starting to put in a little bit of a downtrend. Let me highlight that for you guys. And that was the watch area, right? The downtrend is starting to form. What you don't want to see is a series of lower lows and lower highs. You didn't want to see this low taken out. And it tried to here, but then the downtrend really accelerated. You can see the angles really started to go down, and then we had just the big sell-off here recently. So what next? Now that we sold off, if you saw me on Twitter, I posted a link to a post I recently put together. I got some more analysis on that. Take a look at that, but this is going to be real similar to that. So looking at the sell-off here, the first level of support it hit was this old base that it put in last time, and we're basically right there. Now, this also coincides with the 50 SMA, so the 50-day moving average on the longer-term chart is right where we ended, which is a positive sign. But the chart overall, guys, I'm not going to hold back. This looks very bearish. I hope this is the low, and I hope I am wrong, but I expect some more downside testing. I expect that we're going to see a little bit more testing. We've had a big run up. We've had a nice, but then when you see these fast breaks to the downside, and it's one thing if it happens after a big peak and it just needs to pull back, but it's kind of been this slow grind, inching down, and then just kind of the big break. So what tends to happen next is you get the big bounce, which we're seeing a big volume bounce right now. It's testing this very steep declining moving average right now, and it seems to be bouncing down below that, but I expect it to pop above that. The real test is going to be this moving average is coming down here fast, so right around here, 270, 280 area, also coincides with this low here. That's what I'd be watching right now. I'm expecting we're going to see some resistance right in this area. So if we do bounce, this is where I'd be really looking to see where Ethereum can either pass that and bounce higher and recapture that $300 mark very soon. If not, it's going to fail around this mark and potentially see another leg down, which may either test this low that we saw today or undercut it. If this is going to be a longer term correction, we could undercut this. If we undercut this, the next low is going to be this 140, 150 area. I don't expect that, but hey, anything is possible. You got to remember, Ethereum was at 40 bucks just a few months ago at the start of this year. We had a huge run up all the way up to 400 before pulling back. And so there's going to be a lot of profit taken, a lot of people panic selling. If you bought here at the highs, I can understand why you want to get out. There's really no telling where the bottom will be. If you bought down at these lower levels, maybe some profit taking, maybe you're holding it now. If you haven't sold by now, I'd be holding it. Let's watch this bounce. Let's see how it acts. Let's see how high it goes. But ultimately, guys, you got to make that call. It depends on where you got it, what your beliefs are about Ethereum long term. I think long term Ethereum is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. The project is moving in the right direction. It's getting a lot of attention. I think it's here to stay. But in the near to intermediate term, meaning a couple weeks to months, at best, we're probably going to see some sideways action. At worst, we could see Ethereum a little bit lower here or retesting these lows again. Ultimately, what that means, though, is if it's here to stay, that means it's going to be a great buying opportunity. So if you've been on the sidelines and you're watching this and you're thinking, hey, I've been wanting to buy some Ethereum, now might not be a bad time to do that. Keep some capital available. If you see another leg down, by all means, it'd be a good opportunity to pick some Ethereum up at lower prices. One thing that I did notice today, which was expected, is Bitcoin held up pretty good. So if you look at Bitcoin, let me pull up the charts here. So Bitcoin, it's still coming down a little bit, but on a percentage basis, didn't see quite the move down that we saw on Ethereum. The thing with Bitcoin that I'm not liking here, and I know I sound a little bearish right now, guys, but I'm going to be straight with you guys. And I know there's a lot of guys out there saying just hold and buy, and there's a good opportunity. And if you know what, if you're looking at 5 years out, absolutely, right? don't worry about this stuff. But if you're looking to buy here or you just bought recently, I'm going to be straight with you guys and just tell you what I believe is happening here. Now, some of the red flags I'm seeing is there was this peak here which brought it down, and then we saw a little bit of another top form right here, and then we saw another lower top forming right now. This is not a very bullish pattern. This is almost forming a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern. Now, this is the low we're going to want to watch. If this starts getting taken out and we're very close, that could invite some more selling to the downside. So I'd be keeping a real close eye on this potential neckline. I'm not saying it is a head and shoulders patterns, but it's looking very much like one here. Let me draw that for you guys. So going across this area here, I'd be really watching this little zone right here. So that's going to be, let's just call it 2200 or so. Certainly anything below that, you're going to see another leg down, and usually pretty fast, even if it's just a short-term spike low. So again, the same concept. It depends where you bought. If you've been a holder of Bitcoin from sub 1,000 levels, probably nothing to worry about. If you got Bitcoin at close to 3,000 or 2,500 here recently, I'd be watching this real close. It's up to you guys. I can't really say what to do here. There is a downtrend forming right now. We're seeing a series of lower highs and lower lows, and that's what I'm just noticing. That's not very bullish right now. We've got some potential volatility events. We've got the activation of SegWit on Bitcoin. We could potentially see a run up in July to that, and then some selling. Depends on how that goes. If there's any more delays or drama around that, that could cause Bitcoin to sell off, which will add another layer of selling to the markets. So just headwinds right now. That's what it feels like, and it's just kind of the summer doldrums. We've had a huge run up over the last couple of months, and we're kind of chopping around here. The key here is look at what's holding up good. And so that's what I like to do when these markets sell off. At the end of the day, guys, you got to remember there's going to be winners. There's going to be new leaders that emerge. And while Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of these others might just sit tight for a while or bounce around, you got to keep an eye out for other bases, new leaders that are setting up and potentially going to start moving out of range here. One way to do that is to look at what sells off the least during these panics, or what bounces back the quickest and recovers. That's relative strength right there. And so I'm watching Bitcoin right now. So Ethereum sold off. At one point it was down 20-some percent. Bitcoin was down maybe 8 or 9%. So held up pretty good, as you'd expect. A lot of the money was coming out of altcoins, going into Bitcoin. We already covered Ethereum. Ripple really wasn't too bad. I mean, it's still back to 27 cents. So Ripple was actually holding up pretty good right here. LITECOIN saw a pretty sharp sell-off, but it is bouncing back pretty nicely. It's back to 40. If you missed the initial breakout, I mentioned earlier today, this probably was a good entry point. That is one that I'm staying in, and I actually added to that today during those crazy lows. So just full disclosure, you guys know I like LITECOIN. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll see shortly, but I'm in it with you guys on that one. NEM still selling off. Dash bouncing here, down 5%. So that just gives you an idea, right? What's selling off and what's holding up the best, right? When you see these BitShares down 12%, but Stratus down 6%, Stratus is a little stronger here. So that's what I look at. Some of these leaders that have been leading the way up, all of them got hit today. Who's bouncing back fast? Who's bouncing back the quickest? Who's showing the most buy volume? That's what you should guys be looking at here. So what do I like? What am I watching right now? If the market decides to turn around, keep going, what am I looking at buying on discount? I already talked about LITECOIN. I like LITECOIN. It's holding up well so far. Some of the others, let's look at some of the leaders. So one I'm really looking at here, Decred. Decred is a little bit lower on the market cap here, but I'm liking Decred, watching this one closely. It looked like it was about to break out here a couple of days ago. The downside volume wasn't too heavy on the selling today, so keep an eye on Decred. Another one I'm looking at here, Lisk was setting up real nice. Looked like it was about to break out here. Got hit today with the sell-off, but the volume again wasn't heavy on Lisk. So I'm watching Lisk. I like Lisk. What else? Steem. Steem is looking okay so far. It's starting to roll over a little bit here. If this moving average can hold, Steam may be one to keep an eye on for the bounce here. Held up very nicely today, recovered most of the loss. So Steam's looking really good. I mentioned Ripple. Ripple so far has not been underperforming Bitcoin. You can see here on the daily, um, very, very small downside move on Ripple versus Bitcoin. It's still holding tight. It's not outperforming Bitcoin, but it's holding par with Bitcoin. So Ripple. So those are just a few that I'm keeping an eye on. There's a few on the smaller market cap further down the list, but some of the biggies here, watch those. If this market decides to finish correcting and going up, those will probably lead to the upside. I like these corrections because of that, because it really just shakes things out and reveals where some of the strength lies. But as I mentioned, guys, you can't just throw money at anything anymore. You got to be real selective. You got to be a little bit more picky and be a little bit more patient here, right? If you buy something, it's okay to sit tight for a little bit. Don't expect these, hey, I bought it and it's a week later, why isn't it up 50%? you know, we just got to be a little bit more patient here. Let these things base out. You guys know where I am. Long term, I am very bullish on cryptocurrency and blockchain assets. They're here to stay. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. Ethereum's not going anywhere. And I promise you there's going to be more leaders that emerge, more technologies, more innovations, and they're here to stay. But not all of them are going to win. Not all of these will be around in 2 or 3 years. There's going to be a lot of changes in this top 10 list between now and then. So just stay nimble, stay alert, watch the markets. But, if you're a longer term holder, longer term investor, none of this probably matters. Don't watch the market every 5 minutes. If you're trading, if you're doing some of that, please stay off the margin, guys. Take it easy. Be a little more conservative right now with your trades. If you don't see a clean base or a nice breakout, just don't. Don't guess the bottoms. Don't guess the reversals. And you just got to play it a little tighter is all I'm saying right now. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm keeping a watch on Ethereum, how high we bounce, and where it begins to sell off again is going to say a lot. If the bounce is weak and there's not a lot of volume and we just hit the wall and start coming back down again, we'll probably see another leg down. Stay tuned for more updates. Until next time, take care.